This is a story called Canon 17 by BooLane123 under the subreddit Short Stories. Chapter 1. The Recruit. I spent many days dreaming of this sight, imagining what it'd be like to finally get to the moon. 3 hours since we left the terminal, and the hum of the FTL engines is starting to eat away at me. I can feel it in my bones, like the ship's rattling me apart from the inside out. I was really hoping we'd take the FS gate, but it seems like they'd rather not waste the energy on a routine crew transfer. From what the drill instructors told us, instantaneous travel is a mind-bending event. It's like your brain shuts off at Earth and turns back on at your destination, skipping a frame in a film reel. It sounds terrifying, but it's better than 3 hours trapped in this ship. As we got closer, the station came into view. It wasn't much to look at, just gray rectangular buildings, military and uninspired, partially buried under the regolith to block out solar radiation. The complex stretched 10 miles across in a perfect circle, with 7 smaller cannons spread along the perimeter, each flanked by the supporting buildings required to operate the massive guns. In the center, towering over everything else, was Cannon 17, the flagship of the 3rd Battalion, and my home and work for the next 2 years. I'm a 22405 fire control sensor radio man. My job is to paint a picture of the battlefield using a network of sensors and cameras orbiting Earth and send that information to the fire control center. It's one of the most important jobs on the gun. Without us, the cannon is blind, and if the cannon is blind, Earth burns again. I chose this job because I wanted to do my part in the war, but I didn't want to be on the front line boarding ships like the Marine astronauts. The idea of having blood that close to my hands terrified me. The transport ship landed with a jolt and pulled into the hangar. The doors closed behind us with a heavy thud, locking us in until the air pressure equalized. The hissing stopped, and the boarding ramp dropped. We were ushered off and separated into our respective countries, one per cannon, with America owning Cannon 17. As we were welcomed on by the station commander, the men and women we were relieving took their seats on the transport and waited for their journey home to begin. It took me a while to get settled into the groove and flow of things here, but I got it eventually. Over the last few weeks, I've taken the time to hone my skills and improve my targeting time. Targeting ships and accounting for gravity has become second nature. I try not to think about what's in the ships I'm targeting. Getting hung up on its cargo distracts from the job. I know it's usually people, pilots, crew, soldiers, colonists, etc., but telling myself it's just steel and fuel helps me sleep at night. For the last few weeks, it's been quiet. I think both sides are taking the time to fall back and regroup after the events of last month. The exocolonials lost a majority of their fleet in the attack, and Earth is still recovering after Kennedy Space Force Base was nuked. For the last few weeks, it's been ships. Target the ship, fire the cannon. But today's order was different. They ordered us to relocate our sensor network through the FS gate. This is something that hasn't been done before, so it had me worried. As the sensors relocated, one by one, the screens came to life. With each screen, my shock grew. One by one, the screen showed images of New Eden, the newly declared capital of the exocolonial planets. My jaw dropped as the commander announced, Charge 10 high explosive, over the intercoms. Charge 10 was maximum power, reserved for the direst situations. At this point, it became clear. They wanted us to level the station. They wanted me to target it. I hesitated. I could hear my heartbeat. My hands began to shake from the weight of what was about to happen. My eyes darted back and forth on the screens in front of me. Each face, each smile, each person burned into my mind. I was the one to be responsible for their destruction. I can't do this. The power banks charged up, and the sound of clanking metal filled the room as the charges were loaded one by one into the cannon. Alarms began to blare, warning the station of the imminent firing of the cannon. "Targeting! Get me my vector!" the commander shouted. He was glaring at me. I turned to him with my mouth still wide from the shock. His grimace softened and turned into a look of understanding. He nodded his head at me in a subtle effort to console me. It seemed like he had been in my place before. The cannon waited on me while I grappled with the decision I had to make. The FS gate at the end of the cannon opened with a hum. The only thing missing was the barrel ratcheting into place, ready to end the lives of millions of people. My hands hovered over the controls. The faces on the screen stared at me, the commander waiting for my inaction to end. The hum of the machinery and the faces on the screen blended together. I couldn't do it, but I did. That was Chapter 1 of a short story called Cannon 17 by BooLane123 under the subreddit Short Stories. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.